Welcome back in the lecture series on clinical utility of the Westler Adult Intelligence Scale 4th edition. In the first part of the lecture, I covered the basics of intelligence test scale, the difference between the point and age scale, difference between performance and verbal scales of intelligence, and the historical evolution of the Westler Adult Intelligence Scale 4th edition, starting from the Westler Value Intelligence Scale. Further, I also discuss the theoretical update associated with this 4th edition, and you will be able to recall that this WAS 4th is based on CSC, Cattell, Harn, and Carroll's theory, and therefore the structure of the WAS is three-stratum structure compared to its predecessors WAS 3, which was a four-tier hierarchy. In this second part, I will continue with the other subtests of WAIS 4 as I discussed in the first part the various subtests associated with verbal scale of intelligence. You will be able to recall this structure that the whole WAS4 is organized into four scales: the verbal comprehension scale, perceptual reasoning scale, working memory scale, processing speed scale, and each have a few core tests which are used to calculate these scale scores as well as the full IQ based on the 10. And there are some supplemental tests which are used when the core tests are invalidated or spoiled. In the previous lecture, that is part 1, I discussed this verbal comprehension scale and the core as well as the supplemental test. Today, I will discuss the remaining three scales, that is perceptual reasoning scale, working memory scale, and processing speed scales, all the core and supplemental subtests, what they measure, what are the factors that can influence the test scores, and the clinical consideration that will include both quantitative as well as qualitative analysis. But before I proceed to these three remaining scales, I would briefly present the clinical utility of comparing the performance on the three core subtests of the verbal comprehension scale. In the previous lecture, I discussed the clinical utility of each of the subscales or subtests like similarities, vocabulary, information. If the score is lowered or depressed, then what diagnostically useful informations can be inferred based on that single test scale performance. But researchers have also compared the performance of these scales with each other, and such comparisons can also bring some useful clinical information. So, first, I will conclude the verbal comprehension scale that I discussed in the previous, and then I will proceed to the three major scales. And based on three these scales, the index scores are calculated. Therefore, verbal comprehension scale subtest results in verbal comprehension index, perceptual reasoning index, working memory index, likewise. So, as far as the relative performance difference on subtest of the verbal comprehension index is concerned, one pattern that has been reported by many researchers, I have cited Dobbins and Russell's study 1990. They noted that in patients with left temporal brain damage, The score on information and vocabulary when compared to the similarities is generally lower. And this pattern of lower score on information and vocabulary compared to similarities indicates difficulties in comprehension of words or retrieval of words and language expression. And similarly, the opposite pattern, that is low score on similarities subtest compared to or in relation to information and vocabulary, has been found to be associated with left frontal lesions. And this pattern, that is lower similarities score compared to information and vocabulary, suggests difficulty with verbal reasoning and verbal concept formation. Again, the same researchers I have cited. Similarly, there are other patterns and comparison, and I am just giving few examples because this is one specific topic of one unit, so I cannot go in that much detail. Now let us start the remaining subscales. The perceptual reasoning scale, it consists of five subtests. Three are the core subtests: the block design, matrix reasoning, and visual puzzles. These are three core subtests, and figure weights. This is a new subtest. Visual puzzle is also a new subtest. Serves as a supplemental subtest, but remember, this will serve as a supplemental subtest for individuals in the age range of 16 to 69 years. You all know that VAS 4 is meant for individuals from 16 years to 90 years 11 months. So in case if say 70 years or older persons, they somehow fail to complete any core test, then picture completion is used as supplemental subtest for those individuals. That is, this can be used for all age groups 16 to 90 years. Now let us begin each of the core subtests, their clinical utility, what they measure, and what are the factors that influence as per our previous pattern. Just to help you, that block design, matrix reasoning, and picture completion, these are the old subtests, that is subtest used in VAS 3, and the remaining two tests are new tests, the visual puzzles and figure weights. Block design items require individual to reproduce some picture design. As you can see here in the right panel, that some picture is presented, like this picture has been presented to the participant, and participant has to reproduce this picture using blocks, and therefore it is called block design test. For example, this pattern has been reproduced by the blocks. The blocks have different colored faces. Some blocks have uh, the red sides, some white, and others have half red and half white pattern on the diagonal. For example, you can see this is half white and half red. This is full white. And as it is clear from this picture that the testee or the examinee views the picture, or in some cases even model can be shown, and they are requested to reproduce the design, but this is a time test, so they have to reproduce the design within the given time limit. And basically it can be considered as a concept formation task, and this concept formation task involves both the capacity to analyze the relationships and then do the synthesis, because without the ability to synthesize, one will not be able to produce the design. This block design test measures basically the non-verbal reasoning, the capacity for analysis and synthesis, as I discussed earlier, visual perception and visual perceptual organization, abstract thinking and problem solving, as well as visual motor coordination, because the participant had to see the picture and then using the motor activity he or she has to develop those design. So without visual motor coordination, one will not be able to perform on this task. Now coming to the factors which can influence the subtest scores, includes cognitive style. So field dependent and field independent individuals may differ in their performance. So we will have to be very careful, as I have discussed earlier, on these influencing factors before making any clinical interpretation. Similarly, if the individual is having some visual problems, perceptual problems, then even having good cognitive ability, because of those visual deficits, he or she may not perform well or good on this test. And similarly, if this is time test, so those who have difficulty in working under time pressure, they may perform poor. As far as the clinical utility or clinical consideration is concerned, the scores have been found to be substantially lowered by obsessive concerns with details. So, those who are focusing more on the details of the designs and graphs, or those who are reflective in nature, those individuals generally take longer time or perform poorly, score poorly on this test. Similarly, working under time pressure may also reduce the performance, but this can be detected using a process score that I will discuss in next lecture. The block design is scored in usual way, how many designs have been completed within the given time limit, and there is another scoring which is called block design no time bonus. So the time bonus is not given. If the individual has performed or completed or developed the design within the time limit, then for shorter time period some higher score is given, for longer time some low score is given. But in this BDN, the no time bonus block design scoring, there is no bonus for time. And if individual is performing uh, differently on the usual block design test and the BDN, then this may reflect some difficulty. Generally, visual perceptual problems are often apparent on this subtest. For instance, if both the usual block design scores with time bonus and block design scores with no time bonus, both are lower, then it will be a diagnostic indicator of visuospatial problems and potential difficulty in constructing objects, that is technically called constructional apraxia. And such problems are generally associated with brain damage. Further, the block design is neutral in terms of social content, and therefore schizophrenics who are impaired in their social interpersonal relationships, they are likely to perform better compared to other tests. So some profile have been discussed, and in a scatter analysis lecture I discussed those profiles also. Then this block design test can be used for this purpose also. Similarly, if an individual is having intense disruptive emotions or affect those emotions that can disrupt the performance, then the performance will naturally be lower. So we have to keep an eye on these factors. This block design is also very useful for screening brain damage, though it is not a neuropsychological test per se, it is a test of intelligence, cognitive ability. But some inference about brain damage can be drawn based on the performance on block design test. For example, right hemispheric cerebral brain damage individuals are likely to perform poor on this test because you all know that visuospatial abilities are localized to right hemisphere. Similarly, lesions or damage to the or impairment to the posterior region of the right hemisphere, specifically the parietal lobes, can also strongly impact the block design test performance. However, important to note here is that left parietal lesions or impairment may also sometimes lower the block design scores. Similarly, the right hemispheric damage generally results in a clinical condition that is called hemispatial neglect. People are not able to see the contralateral hemispace. So, right brain damage individuals will not be able to see the left hemispatial information, and because of that, the right brain damage patients having hemispatial neglect syndrome also perform poorly. The next test in perceptual reasoning scale is matrix reasoning. In this, the individual view an incomplete matrix or a series, and he or she is required to complete the matrix or the serial reasoning problem by selecting the missing section from five response choices. It will be more clear with this example. For example, you can see that this is a series and this portion is missing and the participant had to choose one. If you can see that here the sequence of the color is blue, orange and yellow, the same sequence is also here, but the middle portion is overlapping the first and the last figure, but in this situation the first figure is superimposed on the second and the third figure. Now in this the same pattern, the middle figure has superimposed the first and the last figure. So by reasoning this type of pattern means, to me it appears that serial number 4 will be the correct answer. Why? Because the pattern is that the first figure is superimposing the two figures. The second figure and second figure is superimposing the first figure. Similarly, the incomplete matrix. So this is a simple matrix and this portion is missing, and we have to select any one option. If it is kept here, it will complete the figure. So this is the matrix reasoning task, and remember that items are not timed. So the participant can take his her own time to complete the task. And this particular subtest is assumed to measure the fluid intelligence, visuospatial ability, as it is clear from the examples itself, the ability to process information simultaneously, and most of the visuospatial configuration processing requires this ability, simultaneous processing rather than sequential processing, and ability for perceptual organization. So, any lowered or depressed score on this subtest will reflect an impairment of these cognitive abilities. However, there are a lot of factors that can influence the performance on this subtest. For example, ability to respond in situations of uncertainty, those who are better in uh, ability to respond in uncertainty are likely to perform better. Again, the cognitive style, field dependence, independence, color blindness. As you can see, the matrix involves different color. So if any individual is having color blindness, he may perform poorly, and that will not reflect any pathology or any cognitive impairment as such, because color blindness resulted in poor performance. So we have to take into account, as I am saying again and again, these factors. Similarly, flexibility, persistence, motivation level, negativism. This is generally a pathological tendency. Individuals often say that none of them go together. None of the options are correct. So this shows a tendency to negate. Similarly, overly concrete thinking will impair the performance, and visual perceptual problem solving skill will influence the test performance. As far as clinical consideration is concerned, generally those who are mentally challenged or neurologically impaired, they take longer time to respond on this matrix reasoning task. Similarly, sometimes impulsivity may be evident on the task performance, and remember, this is a qualitative analysis, and this impulsivity is indicated by extremely quick but incorrect responses. The participant is quickly responding, taking less time, but at the cost of incorrect responses. Similarly, those who are not able to respond within a reasonable amount of time limit, say 45 seconds, then it is a potential diagnostic indicator, or it may have a potential diagnostic significance. Why? Because such response pattern suggests presence of obsessiveness or some sort of confusion. Similarly, perseveration is again a pathological indicator, and this perseveration may also be evident by qualitative analysis and observation of the way the participant is responding. And this perseveration may be apparent on this subtest if an individual, say for example, repeatedly chooses the same numbered response, that 3 will go there and it will complete the matrix. Again 3 and 3, again 5 and 5. So he or she selects one response and repeatedly giving the same response again and again. That is indicator of perseveration, and that may be a potential indicator for some sort of mental illness or psychiatric disorder. Though, as I said earlier, and I will say again and again, that these are just some few diagnostic clues, and we have to do some follow up assessment, and we have to be very careful before making any firm conclusion or interpretation just based on these indicators. Similarly, indecisiveness For example, one is saying, like you have seen in KBC, that this may also be correct and that may also be correct. It is either one or three. Such verbal responses given by the participants may indicate either of the two things. Either he or she is feeling some insecurity, or he or she is requiring some feedback from the examiner, and therefore such responses given, and that clearly indicates that the participant is not able to take decision. It is indicator of indecisiveness. Now coming to the third core test of this scale, that is perceptual reasoning scale. It is visual puzzles. It is a new test added in VAS 4. In visual puzzles, individual or the testee is required to select three response options from six responses that could be combined to reproduce a geometric image. And this test is, unlike matrix reasoning, this test is timed. So there is a time limit. This is one example. Which three of these pieces go together to make this puzzle? So the participant has to make this figure by selecting any three figure. If he or she will correct the three right figures, then combining these three figures will complete the problem and he or she will be able to reproduce this design. But here the actual reproduction is not required. Similarly, this is a simple question. Which of the three goes together? You can easily find the answer. So the items vary in terms of difficulties. These are some examples taken from the VAS. It is basically designed to be a non-motor task. It is again a performance task, but it is not requiring any motor activity like in block design test. And it was designed to replace the earlier subtest called object assembly subtest, in which the participants have to put the pieces together to make a meaningful picture or a meaningful object. But here, a meaningful object has to be made, but without any motor activity, just selecting any three options. So this is basically an analog of the object assembly test without the motor component. And this test measures basically the perceptual reasoning, visual spatial ability, analysis and synthesis, and simultaneous processing, and all such visual or visual spatial problems, as I said earlier, will involve simultaneous processing, not sequential processing. The factors that can influence the subtest on the visual puzzles includes almost same factors that I discussed earlier: the ability to respond in uncertainty, flexibility, persistence, overly concrete thinking, visual perceptual problems, worries about time limits, impulsivity in responding, and ability to self correct. Almost same factors are there. Therefore, I am not repeating this. Coming to the clinical consideration, generally, the developmentally disabled participants or neurologically impaired participants, they take reasonably longer to respond compared to others. And again, impulsivity on this task may be evident by extremely quick but incorrect responses. Similarly, failure to respond within a reasonable amount of time, and remember that it is not beyond the given time limit, because this is a time test. In the given time limit, if the individual is not responding in that time limit in which generally most of the participants respond, then this may be of some clinical utility. It may be a potential diagnostic indicator. For example, if an individual is characterized by a reflective thinking style, so those who reflect more on the problems, they will take longer to respond. In terms of clinical value, those who are having some form of obsession or obsessiveness, or those who are having some form of confusion, they also take reasonably longer to respond. Again, perseveration, like the last task, may be apparent on this subtest also, and in the same way, using the same number, either 1, 2, 3, each and every time, then that will be indicator of perseveration. And similar to the previous one, indecisiveness may also be present on this test, and this indecisiveness, as either this is correct or that one is correct, this indecisiveness will indicate either of the two conditions. Either the individual is feeling insecure, or he or she is requiring some feedback. Now, the figure weights. In figure weight item, the individual selects the response option, and there are 5 response options that would keep a pictured scale. Scale means the weighing scale. Uh, a picture of weighing scale is presented, and the individual had to select one response option that will keep the scale in balance. The weights are generally represented by some geometric shapes like star, pentagon, hexagon, like this, and different colors are used. This example will make it more clear. Which one of these goes here to balance the scale? And see here, this pane of the balance or scale is empty, and we have to select any one option which will keep this scale in balance, like these scales are in balance. And here you can see that some relationship between different shapes have been drawn. For example, here are two colored bars and one star. This is equal to this one circular ball, and this here, this one pentagon is equal to two star. And based on this relationship, we have to select. Now here there are three stars and one ball. Then which of these objects will exactly balance this? This is the sort of items which are presented in figure weights. More difficult items require individuals to view more than one scale with established weight relationship to determine the response choice that keeps the scale balanced. And remember, items are timed. So, some time limit is given, an individual has to perform this task within that time limit. There is no score if one crosses the given time limit. And it measures fluid reasoning, quantitative reasoning, and analogical reasoning or analogical reasoning, because we have to draw analogy between different shapes and colors. As far as the factors that can influence, it is almost same as for visual puzzles. A few that I have presented in different color. Ability to shift sets is one factor that can influence the performance. Similarly, the executive functioning problems may influence the scores on the subtest. Other factors are same, therefore I am not repeating it again. Clinical considerations, those points that are in red, they are same as discussed with the other subtest. First, we have to remember that response time may vary widely for adults on this task. Despite the given time limit, some individuals perform quickly and some individuals take more time within that given time limit. And generally, those who are developmentally disabled or neurologically impaired, they take longer, like the other tests that I have described. Similarly, impulsivity may be indicated by extremely quick and incorrect responses. So almost clinical interpretations are same as with the previous subtest. And remember that this is one subtest that will be used as a supplemental subtest. Therefore, the abilities and their clinical indications are also same. Similarly, figure weights places greater demand on executive functioning skills. And for this, one has to sustain attention while using several different cognitive processes at the same time. Therefore, any individuals who have difficulty in shifting sets may have trouble on performing this subtest because the shapes represent different weights on every time. So it is not that the same star will have the same meaning. This star may have different meaning on different ISO. So the task requires continually changing the mental set in problem solving. And like the earlier ones, perseveration means repeatedly choosing the same numbered response, and indecisiveness, that is indicator of insecurity or need of feedback, is also evident on this task. Now coming to the last supplemental task of this scale, that is perceptual reasoning scale, is picture completion. In picture completion, items consist of some pictured objects or scenes, but some of the part in the picture or scene is missing. And individual is given only 20-second times to identify those missing parts. Here is example. Generally, these examples are for low age group, like in West. For example, you can see here the missing part is the wheels of this car. Similarly, in this, you can see all balls are having thread, but this ball is not connected with the thread. So the participant has to choose the missing part in the object pictured within 20 seconds. This requires attention to fine or minute details as well as the ability to quickly perceive the visual details. If one is not having this ability, then it will be difficult for him or her to find the missing parts. Similarly, the ability to see details and visual recognition of objects is also reflected in this test. And to sum up, this test again measures the visual perception, perceptual organization, and most importantly, attention to visual details, the minute details of the pictures. If these abilities are there, one will be scoring better, and lower score will indicate impairment in these cognitive functions. The factors that can influence the test performance includes almost similar ability to respond when uncertain, alertness to the environment, cognitive style, field dependent versus field independent. Field independent individuals are likely to perform better. Similarly, ability to concentrate, negativism may also be there. And since this is time test, so this requires working under time pressure. So those who are who become nervous under time pressure, they may perform poorly on this subtest. Remember that the time is very limited, 20 seconds, but it has been noted that this 20-second time is sufficient time for adults who are not having any mental retardation or neurological impairment. Like all other subtests, impulsivity may be present here on this test, and that will be reflected in extremely quick and incorrect responses. Failure to respond within the limit is of potential diagnostic value. Why? Because even a reflective individual generally typically respond within the time limit. So if an individual is taking more time, it may have some hidden diagnostic meanings that need to be explored further using certain other tests. Similarly, negativity or hostility may be noted in such responses, persistent responses like nothing is missing. Obsessiveness or concentration problems may be evident in responses that are focused on trivial details of the picture. For example, uh, rather than saying the missing part of the car, that is the wheels, one is saying that it is Maruti Suzuki, or telling the brand name of the objects, then this shows that they are not focusing on the required details, rather they are focusing on trivial details, and that is reflective of obsessiveness or concentration problem. Similarly, confabulatory responses is also a pathological response, and this is reflected by such responses in which something is mentioned as missing, but those object is really not pictured there. For example, feet in the tennis shoes, blood on the knife. So if there is a knife in the picture and nothing is there, no blood is there, but the participant is saying that blood on the knife is missing. So such confabulatory response may be indicator of some sort of pathology, and it is of diagnostic or clinical interest. And if a participant is giving trivial or confabulatory responses several times during the subtest, then this is really very potentially diagnostically important information, because examiners are instructed to redirect the individuals the first time if they give a trivial response or a confabulatory response. Despite this instruction, if one is repeatedly giving trivial or confabulatory response, then it indicates that there may be some sort of psychopathology present. So this is the perceptual reasoning subtest. Now let us move to the next subscale, that is working memory scale or working memory index. There are three subtests. Two are core subtests, the digit span and arithmetic, and letter number sequencing is a supplemental test, but remember this will be used only for individuals in the age range of 16 to 69 years. If participant is older than 69 years, then this test cannot be used as supplemental subtest. Digit span is very popular test and you all might be knowing this, but I have to repeat. This digit span includes three tasks. In VAS 3, there were only two tasks, the forward and backward, but in VAS 4, there are three tasks, forward, backward, and sequencing. In the forward task, the individuals are presented numbers and they are orally presented at the rate of 1 second per digit, and the individual is required to repeat or recall the numbers spoken by the examiner in the same order, in the same sequence. That is called forward task. And backward, as the name suggests, the individual is required to repeat the numbers uttered by the examiner, not in the same sequence, but in the opposite order, in the reverse order. And in sequencing, they have to arrange the numbers from lowest to highest. So they have to rearrange the numbers. They have neither to recall in the same sequence, not in the reverse sequence, but they have to rearrange the numbers in uh, uh, ascending order, that is from uh, lowest to highest. There is no time limit for this, but as I said earlier, the examiner has to read one number at the rate of 1 second. The working memory demand for backward and sequencing tasks are greater. Why? Because the individuals are required to hold the information in their awareness and to do some manipulation. Like in backward, they have to reverse the sequence. In sequencing, they have to judge which one is higher, which one is lower. So mental manipulation is required, and therefore the working memory demand is more compared to the forward task. But all the three, whether it is forward, backward, or sequencing, all the three measure to some extent the construct of working memory. Apart from this, digit span also measures the ability for attention, auditory processing because the digits are presented orally, and ability for mental manipulation, that is core of the working memory. The factors influencing this test includes ability to receive stimuli passively, attention span, higher the attention span, better will be the performance, anxiety and distractibility, as you can infer, this will lower the score, flexibility, for example, switching from forward, backward, and sequencing. So, some flexibility is also required. Learning disabilities, people having difficulty, say, having difficulty in arithmetics will definitely perform poor on this. Similarly, ADHD is one of the diagnostic category that can influence the digit span test. And as with many of the subtests, negativism, refusal to try to reverse the digits or to put effort to solve the most challenging problems like in backward digit span or sequencing items reflects negativism. First thing important to note is that this test is more influenced by state or test anxiety compared to the chronic anxiety. So, if performance is lower, it is likely that individual might have developed situational anxiety, test anxiety, and that has influenced their score. Like other tests, impulsivity may also be evident on this digit span, but here the indicator is slightly different. The impulsivity is inferred when the participant starts repeating the number in the same sequence or in the reverse section, whatever has been called, before the examiner has completed uttering all the digits. Or When the testee or examinee repeats the digits very rapidly, very quickly, that also indicates impulsivity. Similarly, the ability to learn, learning ability, is also reflected or evident on this task. For example, adults may make errors on the first trial, but because of the learning ability, if they are having that ability to learn from their errors, then they are able to pass the second trial, third trial like. But if this learning ability will not be there, then one will fail all the trials and will not be able to learn from the errors made in the previous trials. But for inferring this, we must observe the performance on similar tasks like letter number sequencing or block design. This test is also very sensitive to brain damage. For example, digit forward is more vulnerable to left hemispheric involvement rather than the right or diffuse. Similarly, patients with left hemisphere damage or visual field defects, they have trouble with this digit backward sequencing. And if the difference between digit forward and digit backward is higher than 5, and this is very rare, very unusual, but if it is present, then it is very common in brain damage patients or brain damage clients. And digit backward, since requires more working memory demands, it is also sensitive to detect dementia. But remember that based only on this, we cannot make the final conclusion. We have to support our hypothesis with subsequent follow up examinations and interpreting other contextual information. The second core test of working memory is arithmetic. Simple arithmetic of school level are presented, but the individual has to solve the problem mentally, not using paper pencil, and the problems are also presented in verbal form, not like 2 plus 2 is equal to what. Some verbal expression will be there, and uh, the individual has to solve the problem mentally. I am presenting a few items, it will make more clear. For example, this is item from the verse 4. Bill has 4 children and 20 toys. If each child gets an equal number of toys, how many should each child get? It is very simple item. You will divide 20 by 4 and you will say 5. So 5 is the correct response. This is little difficult item. If 8 machines can finish a job in 6 days, how many machines are needed to finish the job in half a day? So you will have to calculate the number of machines for 1 day. Since 8 machines are finishing the work in 6 days, therefore in 1 day, 8 into 6, 48, and half day means just double, 96. So 96 is the correct response. So similar verbal numerical questions or arithmetic questions are presented. And this subtest measures working memory, mental manipulation, attention, concentration, and unlike the visual task that required simultaneous processing, this arithmetic requires sequential processing as well as numerical reasoning ability. The factors that can influence include the span of attention, anxiety, concentration ability, or its supposed distractibility, learning disabilities, ADHD, school learning, and working under time pressure. On this subtest, qualitative analysis is more helpful. So, the examiner or the clinician tries to infer the cause of the error. If any response is incorrect, then what is the potential reason behind that incorrect response? So, whether it was a computational error or a reasoning error or failure to attend or misunderstanding the meaning of a questions, likewise, I am giving just one example to make it clear. For example, in response to a question about the number of hours it takes to walk 25 miles at rate of 5 miles per hour. So if one individual is walking 5 miles in 1 hour, he or she will take 5 hours to walk 25 miles. If one is saying 7, then it is likely that he has done some computational error because it is close to the answer. While if one is saying 30, then rather than making division, he has made some reasoning error and he has multiplied some constant and arrived at the answer 30. Similarly, someone is saying 5,000, then it indicates really a pathology, a very bizarre, very rare response, and this type of bizarre response suggests either inattention, lack of comprehension, or even a thought disorder like in various psychotic conditions. So, this is one important qualitative approach for extracting clinically or diagnostically useful information from this subtest. Similarly, for developmentally disabled adults, this subtest measures a portion of adaptive functioning also. Why? Because many of the items involve money, counting, and other real life situations. So, if one is having difficulty in this, so mentally challenged individuals generally they have difficulty in counting money and other real life adaptation, then they may perform poorly on this test, not because of their poor arithmetic, but because of their uh, difficulty in adaptive functioning. Similarly, here it is important to mention that when individuals can respond correctly to questions, but they fail to do so within the time limits, then those who tend to be compulsive, obsessive, or neurologically impaired, they are likely to show this pattern of response. Finally, the disorders that involves impairment in cognitive functions in general, specifically in attention and thinking, is associated with poor performance on this arithmetic subtest. The letter number sequencing, as the name suggests, the examiners read a series of mixed letters and numbers. And the individual has to recall the numbers first in ascending order, that is from lowest to highest, and then the letters in the alphabetical order A, B, C, D, E, F, C. Each item consists of three series of mixed letter and numbers. So three trials are there in each item. This is Few examples, for example, 1G7, it will be presented one alphabet or one digit per second speed. Then the subject has to arrange the numbers first. 1, 7 in bracket, the correct response is given. 17G is the correct response. H 9 4, then 4 9 is in ascending order, and then H. The second one shows a little longer string that requires more working memory. M4P7R2, and the sequence of the number will be 247, that is in increasing order, and then he or she will have to rearrange the alphabets in alphabetical order. M comes prior to P and P comes prior to R. So these are some examples. Again, there is no time limit, but as in digit span, here the examiners read each number at the rate of one number or one alphabet per second, and this measures the working memory, mental manipulation, attention, concentration, and short-term auditory memory, because the alphabets or the numbers are spoken orally. The influencing factors includes almost similar factors that I have discussed: the ability to receive stimuli passively, attention span, anxiety, concentration, literacy or dyslexia, learning disability, ADHD, negativism, and persistence. Most of the factors are same. Difficulty in sequencing: if one is having difficulty in arranging, then he or she may show poor score on this. Similarly, poor short-term memory, inattention, distractibility that I have mentioned here, anxiety, they are the major causative factors for difficulty on this task. And very similar to digit span, sequencing problems can be evident from correctly remembering the numbers and letters. They know what numbers and letters were presented, but they are not able to present it in the correct sequence. They are presenting it in the wrong sequence. Then this indicates some sort of cognitive impairment and pathological indicator. Similarly, short-term memory deficit may be inferred if the part of the sequence is correct, but some of the letters or numbers have been missed by the participant. He or she has forgotten those numbers. That reflects that some impairment in the short-term memory may be there. And like the digit span, again, state anxiety or the test anxiety is more likely to influence the test performance compared to the chronic anxiety. So, thank you. In the next lecture, I will cover the final subtest, that is the PSI, and then some more about the clinical utility of WAS 4. Thank you very much.